Oh, friend.
Hey there.
Hey, I appreciate you dropping some comments in the agenda beforehand. It's really easy sometimes to forget. I do all the time. And I just show up to meet and I'm like, oh, darn it.
Yeah. Well, also to help to like have them documented in case you go back. I always want to go back and look at meeting notes to see what somebody said because I'd always forget.
Yep.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, Amanda.
What's going on?
Right. I wonder.
Nick's out of office.
Yeah, Nick's out of office. I don't think Mike is joining. I don't know. It's early this time.
Oh yeah, he's not on mine.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I was mentioning to Daniel earlier, I was thanking him for leaving some feedback in the agenda. That helps get the notes started. So thank you to you as well, Amanda, for that. I'll share my screen and we can kind of carry through the agenda. I think I still have some outstanding questions I'd love to get your thoughts on. Oh gosh, which Firefox window do I want to show? This one. So one of my just challenges that I run into, and maybe you guys can talk me through how this plays out for your groups, is issues will just appear in workflow design. And I think the intention is good. Like, hey, I see this UX gap, and I think we can make it better. The struggle then becomes for me, do we need to do this? So I was trying to understand from your perspectives, Daniel, you left an idea in terms of working with Hayana and Mike on the settings experience. I did talk to him about it. It wasn't necessarily so much about stuff like this. It was more like the complicated logic behind inheritance across different levels of GitLab. But this, I think this same problem appears elsewhere. Example is we have this amount of inventory for credentials like your SSH keys and stuff in the admin area. It also exists in your user settings, but they're different experiences in terms of how you find them and interact with them. And I would even argue that the persona of the person dealing in the admin area is different than your general user, which I tried to kind of present back to Matt, because like, as an example, one of my friends was using GitLab for the first time. And like, he really had like no understanding of like what a personal access token was. So that's where I kind of run to some of this like crux of, are we actually solving the right problem? The problem I think that is addressed in this issue is we have inconsistent UI. And I don't know if that's a worthwhile problem to solve all the time over other problems that we could be solving as a group.
Well, I think maybe for this, in terms of the consistent UI, I think I sort of brought up a bit of that, is that why don't we add all of these things to access or access section or something like that, because it's getting these things provide access to some sort of environment. Credentials, the same thing too. So having it be an access setting would make more sense to me.
Mhm.
Not so much the group access. I'm just talking about access and the concept of getting into a system.
I'm gonna jot down your notes too real quick.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts, Amanda? Oh, you're on mute, by the way.
Sorry, thank you.
ahead.
It definitely looks to me that it should be combined. And whatever it's called, access, credentials, but nonetheless, I think it should be combined in the consistent UI.
Was there any
Yeah,
reason they're not, or any sort of pushback for you trying to merge them? Or
No, I think if anything, I'm the one pushing back.
why
So,
is that?
part of the thing is, I feel that the person that's managing the credential inventory at the admin area is somewhat different than the person that is managing their personal user settings. So
Mhm.
I think the person that's going in here and managing their credentials and deploy keys ultimately has a different task than the person that is going into their user settings and then accessing their different keys and whatnot from here. So
Which
to
is,
me, it's like, why
but
blindly copy one or the other
well, I was
for
thinking
the
if you go
sake of
back to the user
consistency?
settings,
Hmm.
if you were to go back to the user setting window
Hmm.
and then create a screen or something that says credentials or access or
Mhm.
whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it, and instead of having SSH and GPG and access tokens all
Right.
separate, you throw them all in one place. In the other perspective, if you go to the site admin setting,
Hmm.
this is the credentials page, which is sort of what I had envisioned that I
Hmm.
was talking about. The personal access tokens or SSH keys. But
Right.
in this case, you could have many or multiple ones, whereas a personal one, you'd only just have the one theoretically on
Right.
the user setting. So
Potentially,
that's what
yeah.
you're saying, is that having these two screens be the same wouldn't make sense.
That's what I feel. I'm open for suggestions, but the thing that I'm lacking is like, why is this a problem? Like, I understand that they're a different experience today, but I don't understand why it's a problem. And the only problem I can hear articulated is, well, it's inconsistent UI. I'm like, well, not all UI should be consistent. There are times maybe when deviating is easier. And the very like niche example I brought up is someone that's unfamiliar with personal access tokens. It might be more discoverable for them to be at a level where you can easily find the word access tokens when we haven't implemented a search capability to help you find something very specific. They might not understand that it's a credential. They just know they have to find something called a personal access token. So I'm just slightly hesitant because of the fact that like it would require a lot of change to all these different pages. Like we'd basically be tearing down pages, taking away certain aspects, pulling in credentials as they stand here. To me, it's like, this seems like a lot of work, and I don't really know where the problem is stemming besides just inconsistent behavior. So anyways, I think maybe it just goes back to that original concept of how consistent should we be? Where do we stand as designers and holding true to that or deviating from it?
To me, this feels like a perfect opportunity to just do user testing, just to say, okay, I need to stop thinking about this, come up with some ideas and run them by end users. And then also grade your or qualify your users to see different buckets, like people who know what SSH and PATs are, and people who use them regularly versus somebody who'd never heard of it, and then offer 2 different test scripts around that and test the same environment just to say, to get a better perspective, or not to keep banging your head against the table, right? Because that way you can get actual usable qualitative data.
Right. Because I mean, I think the easiest thing would be to me to say, yeah, let's just make a match. I mean, I get that it would probably take more, it would take more effort on like the research front to go actually validate this as a problem, or put more effort on the product team to go build it. Okay.
No, and that's where I would just do it as a research project, and then that's like use digital comps or mockups and just go through testing with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do an unmoderated test. I just don't know how to do it. It's that same tricky problem you run into with access stuff, because
Did
how do
you
you set
see
up an environment for someone to do it?
yeah, and the problem is if you're going to do it with yours, where you want to do it as because we don't have this built, then you have to do it as a digital environment. So then you would just use a Figma prototype. But did you look at our Dovetail interviews for the CMS scores?
I have not gotten through it, no.
If you get a chance, go look at the project. I'll
Okay.
find the link here. 1 second. So if you look, they were unmoderated and they were a disaster because it was just weird.
Okay.
But it was
Perfect.
also very good because they were very helpful in that it explains that nobody knows how to use GitLab or the system. And so that basically makes it the best case scenario. Like, okay, then I have free reign to do whatever I need to make it better or to fix it, or
Yeah, I
take
mean,
user feedback for fixing it.
yeah, like I think I'd want to like try and post is like, can you create an SSH key? But the issue might run into someone actually being able to do the SSH key and not so much like finding it in the settings. But anyway, yeah, I'll loop back to our new UX researcher and see if she has any insights on how we could validate this problem.
Well, that too for sure, but I would first start by saying what you want to get out of it. Like, I want to see if this solution proposal makes sense. And then say, I want to test this idea, and then have users go through the process and validate or invalidate the proposal, because at least you're starting with something rather than saying, how should I do this? Or what would be the best solution to start with to go forward? Because the idea being is that if you go and you say, I have this proposal, I want you to solve these tasks, and you have these 2 different user profiles, the experienced versus inexperienced, and then you get data and everyone hates it or everyone loves it. And then you can figure out after the fact, if everyone hates it, ask for feedback. What would you change? How would you need help to get to the solution or whatnot? Because that's what happened for us, was that we had some people, like, the task was to build an organizational structure in GitLab. And we would just plop them into the group container. And there was a button in the upper right that said new project. And they didn't even start there. They sometimes did, but they were making projects, not subgroups. So that's part of the problem, where we had to rethink the whole thing and try to start with splitting that up.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take that as a launching point. Thanks for the feedback too. I'll keep my next one brief so I can give Amanda some more time. One thing I'm struggling with is this concept of like putting all of the UX work around a specific feature in the app into a giant epic. Because Daniel, I think you did a great job starting this, but then it became, at some point, it lacked a representation of where we are today. And so then it becomes like, okay, now we have all of these phases that are outlined. And maybe these are kind of true. It feels like maybe we've deviated a bit. And then we have all these issues then, and or sub epics with a collection of more issues underneath. I'm like, I don't know if we're going to add security scanning to the compliance dashboard. I've kind of heard that that's not super helpful in some cases. Anyways, I was trying to find a good representation. Daniel added some links. I added the one that Juan had added. I just am like, where do we take these things? These things feel like a lot of work to manage for, maybe it's more of a product thing, but didn't feel like it was really helping me all that much.
Import has import love epic, and that actually houses all the UX work, which makes it easy to organize and like figure out, you know, categorize them. Does
Is that
that
to
help?
like get to Lovable or something, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll find the import like mega link.
Yeah, it'd be great if you could share it, because I was digging into
Yeah.
the one that Daniel had shared.
Yeah, I'll pull it up and link it.
Awesome.
There's also, I'm trying to find, oh, it was a video I saw on YouTube. 1 second. 1 second, let me go through my YouTube history. Here it is. It's not necessarily a dashboard or a epic or planning thing breakdown. It's Nadia made a discussion video with her group for
Sweet.
what they're doing for the 3-year vision, I think is what it is. And that might be kind of a good way to see how you want to do yours, because it sounds more or less what you're trying to do. And what they're doing is they're just talking about how they want to do the PM or UX discussion around what will be done for the next 3 years. And they use it, I think, as a as the info on the about.gitlab.com for their stage. And so using that as kind of like a holding point for all this. The idea that you would use an epic for it, I would do it kind of like at a high level, just say, these are the concepts or things we want to do as an epic, or at some point in time, and then break down everything that's can be granular or broken down into smaller parts, into sub epics and then sub issues. And that way you kind of have this long-term project, but that'll also help you, because then you'll be doing the long-term planning, you'll be doing the research associated with that, and then you'll be doing the minor product feature work and any bug stuff that gets dropped in. Like, who was it? Yeah. I think it was the issue that Nick posted about changing the way that the groups or the group work is done. Hayana had made a good response
really
to
good
that.
Comment.
Yeah. So that one was the one that I was kind of thinking about in relation to that, and the video also.
Okay. Sweet. Amanda, sorry, I left you like 7 minutes.
Oh, no, that's fine. So I need help with my button migration issue, and it seems like you guys have already kind of helped me. Yeah, I've been working with Tori a little bit, but I'm just having an issue just like pushing or merging my code.
Changes? Okay.
Yeah. So I can continue to work with her on doing that.
It's man.
Is it Tori is tough, or
like
is it the process?
A couple of them.
Process.
Yeah. It's man. There were a couple times I totally broke like my commit history, and like that really jacked up pushing. I don't know if you've taken this as an opportunity yet, but it's a great chance to meet with some of your front end engineers and just get their insights and help.
Well,
As a way just to like talk with them, but also they are pretty good about what the basics are of just getting to push to master and
yeah,
being done with it.
okay.
Yeah, that's the only way I would do it. I tried looking at the stuff by myself. I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this without a developer. Like
And
telling me
reading
what
the
to do.
instructions, yeah.
Yeah, not even that, but it's like saying, okay, now type this, and here I'll send you this, copy paste this, and it's like, because I'm not a developer, and so I don't know
Yeah.
anything of what's going on here.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's like I wouldn't be able to do it without somebody sitting there specifically telling me what to do. And even then, I had tried one with Peter, our front end dev, and we couldn't find where the button existed in the entire environment. It was like we spent a whole hour on that. It's like, okay, this is not good. And so I asked Jarek, and he says, yeah, some of these are just really problematic, and they should probably
Some
be
of them
sent
are,
to a
yeah.
dev.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some of them are just real simple. The simple ones have already been done, apparently.
Yeah.
they were probably first picked up.
Mhm.
Yeah. I picked a
Change the
couple hard
login
ones.
button.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny.
Yeah. I picked some that were like buried deep within pipelines. That was, whew, what a journey. Also, I found one that was like for creating a merge request, but it was like a very weird fringe case in which like there were no commits and nothing had been created. It was very hard to get the thing set up. But yeah, working with the dev really, really helps.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
schedule some time with somebody dev related. Jarek also,
Yeah.
he's really good.
Yeah.
There's someone I'm working with on the merge request, the front end.
Cool. Cool.
So I have a little bit of help.
Yeah, and if you can't get anybody else, I'd be happy to try and look at it with you. Like, I don't know what issue you're running into right now. But yeah, you have a couple failing pipelines, so can always dig into that and try and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and I wanted to do this like as a learning process, but
Oh yeah, it's a learning process. I'm with you. Yeah. It does feel good though. When that thing gets merged, you're like,
you're
yes,
like,
I actually changed GitLab for the better.
that's funny.
Oh, man.
No, I had that problem where it just, if I could not get beyond any sort of progress to have it to like actually show work, right? It's just like I can't even find the thing.
Yeah.
So because of that, I was like, okay, this is ridiculous.
Right.
I'm done. Okay.
And don't forget to add your screenshots because you don't want to have to like reset your environment to look for the old one.
I already have it. I already have it ready to go.
Sweet.
All right, let's move on to the next point. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. Where's my screen? Can y'all see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So just real quick, well, I know Austin, you had a comment, but what I'm looking for is feedback on are the source links. So these link out to like the GitHub project, for instance.
Mhm.
The destination links within GitLab. Do they need separate visual treatment? Or is that not necessary?
You mean like because the pathway goes to different websites?
Yeah, like this launches in a new window. Sorry, the source link launches in a new window and destination launches within GitLab.
Mhm. I would say from a UI point, based off a comment that I dropped in there, I think it's a good mentality. Links go, buttons do. So I don't know if that has to necessarily be different, but I like your idea of trying to make it clear that the destination is within GitLab.
Mhm.
Do we have like a Tanuki icon that we can put in there as if it were just a part of the link itself?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Like a badge or something, because we have badges on links already, and that
Yeah,
would work.
yeah, perhaps a badge or something. Yeah.
They have I know I saw one
I mean, we must, because they're in the button, right? So
Yeah.
if you go to the screenshot to the left, there are icons next to all of those.
Status.
There's even like a base black and white Tanuki icon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if like pending that as a prefix or maybe putting it in the table header for the column, even maybe that would help draw a distinction that like this is GitLab and this is external.
Okay.
There's badges that have icons. And there's icon badges. So if you go to look at the badge, that might be something like what you're interested in.
Like, well, I have an issue that we're going to update the icons that I've been working with Jeremy on, and we're using a badge for, gosh, hold on. For the status column.
Right.
The other thing
Maybe
too
just
is, Mike, I did have originally the external link icon next to the source link, and Mike suggested to take them out because it looks really redundant to have all of those icons in a row.
it's just
So
all
I'm imagining that if we have a Tanuki in front of the destination link, that might look a little redundant.
Is
Possibly.
destination always GitLab though?
What's that?
Is the GitLab is the destination always GitLab?
Yes.
We could say the column header would be GitLab destination. Then that might be clarifying enough. I mean, each of the link is, well, no, that doesn't make sense because technically they could call there or whatever they want. It doesn't have to necessarily say GitLab in it. So yeah, I stand by that. I think you could change the column header maybe to GitLab destination.
Okay.
Clarify.
Should I external source? What do you think about that? Or is that not necessary?
I mean, I don't think that's a bad idea. I think you're trying to issues where like you might have imported a source from another GitLab project, and then it's not really external, it's kind of internal potentially. So I think maybe just keeping it source makes sense. I think it's going to work just fine because assuming that these links are representing the domain they came from, they're kind of self-explanatory for GitHub, Bitbucket.
Yeah,
wherever they might be.
That's what my
from.
question would have been: is that what's the purpose of seeing whether it's an external versus a GitLab?
I mean, that's my question. So even in the URL, we have GitHub, Bitbucket. So I don't know if that's enough.
Well, how big are the URLs too? What if they go longer than that?
They'll have an ellipsis.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the feedback. Austin, do you want to vocalize your question?
Yeah, I was curious. So the history takes you to a new page. From my understanding, the way I interpreted your job to be done statement, that history would help the user know, do I need to import more projects from GitHub? Because if I can see that all of my 7 projects have been imported, then I'm good. I don't need to do any more necessarily. So I was wondering, would it be reasonable, instead of going to a new page, maybe having a collapsible section or something below the top of your page, below the import project from, so the user could quickly identify that as opposed to having to go back and forth?
Well, this could be quite a long page. So I don't know, because there's so much information, I don't know if it would make sense to put it behind an accordion.
Yeah, I think inevitably the user is going to have to probably sort through a long list anyways. Probably have to cap it at, I don't know, 25. I'm making up a number here. of projects that can get listed at one time. The intent I thought behind the accordion is they wouldn't have to load it when the page gets built. They can maybe load in that data when the user hits expand. That way you're not like making them wait on pulling every single project or something in before the page is ready to render. I think my question was just, does taking the user to a new page take them off the task of importing a project?
Well, the task
Just
here
food for thought.
too
You don't have
could do,
to
yeah,
answer
so,
it. It's just
yeah,
something to consider.
okay. That makes sense.
But yeah, like I was thinking for myself, like when I was carrying over all of my stuff from GitHub, and I was doing an import, I'm like, well, yeah, it would have been nice to have seen, oh, I have these 4 projects, these 3 are done. I know which the last one to do, and I'm just gonna hit GitHub again.
Yeah.
Whereas here I'd have to go look and then hit the back button on my browser, hopefully go back to the right page, and then hit GitHub.
This is also a place to view details that have failed, which will take you to a new page.
Right, right. Yeah, now that makes sense, because then you'd be going down a different workflow. In my case, I was thinking, I've clicked import for 3 projects. I know in my mind, there's a 4th one that lives out on my GitHub page. I just need to go grab that one too.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean,
It
if
would
it's not
be-
a problem to load them, then like maybe no accordion, and just like this table as you show now just sits below. But I just
Right.
was assuming there'd be some sort of constraint there.
These are loading
That's interesting.
all in tandem, or they're just all coming up at the same time, or is it all kind of progressive?
The information? Like, are you talking
Yeah.
about, would it be infinite scroll versus pagination?
Well, the pagination they make us, I think, is a limit. I don't know of any
25,
case of infinite scroll.
Hmm.
But otherwise, yeah, I mean, how often, because it says the status done versus failed. And I think you mentioned it earlier of like, what happens if you walk away, if you close the window or whatever, and you come back to the screen?
You're saying, would it load the same?
Would it continue showing new or updated data?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and all of these would take you to a log, essentially.
Mm.
That's interesting.
I think it should be fine.
Hmm.
All right, well, quick time check. We're 2 minutes over. Do we have any final thoughts?
I don't have any. Have a good week.
Yeah, you guys have a good week too.
Cool.
Right.
Good to see everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.